Hey everybody, it's Carlton French. Welcome back to the Single Man Podcast. I am thrilled to be joined this Friday with my great friend Victoria Baldwin. She is 27 years old. Victoria is single, and I'm excited to have Victoria on to share. Let's say you could speak directly to single men who are listening now. How would you give them advice on dating well?
Find a holy place and dwell in it and serve in it.
What's the importance of community with other women? What would you say to single women who are having this mindset of there's no good guys out there?
I understand. Protect me from any man that is not my husband. A lot of times God will literally put a veil over you and it will feel like you are invisible. Literally, I've never told anyone this. Y'all think y'all are gonna get rejected, and I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, the girl is gonna say yes to a date. Don't let rejection paralyze you, y'all. Rejection is redirection. Rejection is protection.
I know this is going to encourage single women and single men that are listening. So
I think the biggest thing for me and so many other women, y'all, please take this note.
Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to take a second and thank you for watching the Single Man Podcast. What started as a vision in October 2023 has grown into something more than I ever imagined. If you haven't seen episode 1 yet, I'm only creating 52 episodes, and my goal is to reach as many single men as possible through these real stories. YouTube tells me that only 10% of those who watch the podcast are subscribed. It would tremendously help the podcast reach more men if you would scan the QR code on the screen right now or click the only link in this episode's description and subscribe on YouTube. Through the link, you can also join our email list, follow us on social media, or even donate so we can keep making an impact in single men's lives. My commitment to you is to use 100% of anything donated to continue improving the quality of the podcast. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's roll the episode.
Challenge yourself constantly.
You have to be a little bit patient.
I felt like I was in a hole looking up.
The whole idea is you have to become content in singleness.
I'd be lying if I said I haven't fired off some Instagram DMs.
The word dating is not mentioned in the Bible.
I dedicated my life at Tomorrow World to Jesus.
Welcome to the Single Man Podcast, where we delve into candid conversations with Christian men about their journey to faith, advice for their younger selves, and navigating dating. With a heart to reach men from all walks of life, dive into real stories of redemption, growth, and the hope found in following Jesus. I'm your host, Carlton French, a 29-year-old single Christian, and I'm excited for you to listen to this week's episode. Let's jump into it. Hey everybody, it's Carlton French. Welcome back to the Single Man Podcast. I am thrilled to be joined this Friday with my great friend, Victoria Baldwin.
Hello.
Victoria, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Thanks so much for coming on. I am honored to have you here to tell some of your story and just to encourage single men and women around dating. And really want to take a second before we jump into honor you and just your friendship and your podcast. I probably wouldn't even be here today with the Single Man Podcast, with what it's become to this point, without your podcast and you having me on back in March of 2023. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I ever was on a podcast. And I was nervous coming on your podcast. You probably remember I was like, I don't know if we should air that. And you really encouraged me no, it's going to go great.
You did amazing.
Yeah. So I think that, started to plant some seeds about, okay, maybe I could do something like this and help other single men out there. And to just see where it's grown now to have 20 plus men who have all come on and shared their story and talked about navigating dating and relationships. I know it's impacting people. So just want to honor you and your obedience to God doing your podcast. And
thank you. That's so sweet.
Excited to have you on today to now return the favor almost. Have you on my podcast and share a little about your story and how you're navigating dating. So little intro on Victoria. She is 27 years old.
I am. Oh. It's so embarrassing. I try to avoid telling my age at all costs.
Really?
Yes.
27 is young. I'm 29.
Yeah, well, I'm still 27.
You feel old at 27?
I do feel old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll feel younger today. I don't know. After today. She is also from Hoover, Alabama.
I am.
And has lived in Atlanta for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And we became friends through our church in Atlanta, Passion City Church.
We did.
A couple of years ago. I think the first time we met, we did a game night with our small groups. And I remember that being really funny. I was like, I got to the door the same time that you and Sydney got to the door. And then I was like, all right, here's where we go. And then I ended up kind of organizing that game.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember
Mr.
that.
Lister's quiz shootout.
I've been obsessed with that game ever since.
Yeah.
It's literally been like 15 years, and I'm like, let's play Mr. Lister.
It's such a great game. Yeah. Every time I introduce someone to a game, they're always like really skeptical, but then they end up loving it.
No, it was a great game.
Yeah. Cool. So shout out Mr. Lister's quiz shootout. And Victoria is single.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited to have Victoria on to share about how she's navigating dating and relationships as a single Christian woman here in Atlanta. So she also works in social media.
I do.
And does a great job at that. Like I said, she has her own podcast called The Way Podcast, and I will link that in the episode description. And I'll also link my own episode that I had on your podcast a year and a half ago. So we'd love for y'all to check that out and support Victoria and all that she's doing, because she makes some great content and encourages.
I will say Carlton's episode is still one of my it's either top 2 or top 3. Like, it's real up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
People love talking about singleness.
Yeah.
So
I think just dating in general, there's a lot of confusion around it.
For sure.
The church doesn't do a great job.
At all.
Yeah. So I know we're excited to talk a little bit about that today. So anything I left out you want to have people know about you?
No, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. How about this last week, Victoria? What's kind of been a high? What's been a low, so people can get to know you a little bit more?
I would say a high has been, my girls. I recorded a podcast episode last week.
Yeah.
And some of my LO girls, Live Original, it's like a ministry I'm involved in, but they came in town and recorded the podcast episode with me. And we talked all about confidence and being a Christian woman, and they're just some of my best friends. And so it was just so fun. And then we had a little slumber party after, and it's just the best. I just love my friends. And so that was definitely a high.
Yeah.
Did you ask for a low?
Yeah. Anything low, anything hard recently?
I think I was just tired last week.
Yeah.
So nothing I just need to rest. So after I'm traveling this week, but after this week, I'm really taking on a lot of rest. So yeah.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. I've been really enjoying the series that you're doing.
Thank you.
Right now on your podcast. So
we're doing a Christian girl chat. So it's been so fun. But yeah, I just love chatting it up with my girls. So it's literally been so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So keep up the great work with
Thank
that.
you. This is sweet.
And we'd love for you to touch on, Victoria, a little bit about your story, like how you came to faith, at what age was that, and when did you really, I guess, come to know who Jesus was and what he did for you?
So my story is, I don't know what God is doing. I just know the past, I'll probably say 3 or 4 months, I've literally had to tell my story at some point every week. I don't know why he keeps bringing this up, but it's, I'm grateful because he saved me. But my story, basically, I grew up in a very lukewarm Christian household in the heart of the Bible Belt in Alabama.
Yeah.
And basically my entire life, sports is a huge part of my story. I always say that was my God in my household, was sports. Very big idol in our house. We were devoted to sports. I traveled around the whole country my entire life for basketball. And I would say I practiced literally 7 days a week. When I was 10 years old, I got a random Wednesday night off, and my neighbor, her name was Bailey Parker. I don't remember a lot of names from being a kid, but this is the one name I remember because she invited me to church.
Wow.
But I had a random Wednesday night off that I didn't usually get off, and she asked me to come to children's church with her when I was 10. And so that Wednesday night I went, and at the end of that service, they asked, are there any children in here that don't know Jesus? And I raised my hand, and I went into the little lady pastor and my neighbor. We went to this room, and the pastor led me through the salvation prayer. And so I gave my life to Jesus that night. Wow. And I bought my first Bible that night, and I still have that Bible. It's still on my bookshelf. And I would say I went home and I tried to read Genesis chapter 1 in the King James version, didn't know what I was reading. I was 10, you know?
Yeah.
So
Just start at the beginning.
No, literally started in chapter 1 of the Bible. And I fell off, you know, fairly quickly because there was no discipleship. I got literally thrown back into basketball full throttle. And I'll probably say the rest of my story was literally just chasing that dream of going to play pro, going to play college. And I made it to college. I played for a D2 program in South Carolina.
Okay.
And it was a great program. Like we were nationally ranked every year. And I would say when I was playing college ball, like I hit a new low and I was just so miserable. Like I was so far from home. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I started to like have like my quarter life crisis of this is not all there is to life. Like there has to be more.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of led me down a path of like, you know, starting to go a worldly route of doing the typical college, what college kids do. And I was just trying to search and find joy because I was just so miserable playing college ball. And I probably say after a year or so, year and a half of partying, drinking, doing all the things, the Lord, I say that he opened my eyes to my sin. Like I saw myself and what I was doing and it just wasn't good. And I went to church. I partied, was drunk Saturday night, stumbled into a church Sunday morning, and the pastor preached about how giving your life to Jesus, a byproduct of that is joy. And that was the one thing I was looking for all throughout college was joy because I was just so miserable.
Yeah.
And once I heard that you can get joy from Jesus, that was all I needed to hear. And I gave my life to Jesus. And that was 6.5 years ago. And I haven't looked back.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you feel like God was speaking to you in that time where it sounds like he was kind of drawing you back and you decided to go to that church?
I just felt the reason I went to that church is because that Saturday night, like it was just a bunch of drama, a bunch of boy drama, LOL on the dating podcast. And I was just so just like disgusted with myself that I wanted to go somewhere clean. And that was the only reason I went to church that Sunday morning. And I just felt like in that moment, God just met me in my filth and washed my sins clean with his blood. And he was just speaking to me like, there's nothing you can do, my daughter, to keep me from chasing after you. Like truly left the 99 for me.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. But yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that I think is important in my story too. Like when I hit a low point, I kind of knew, okay, maybe I should go check out church or check out this God guy again. Cause I had grown up in church until 7th grade. And so encouragement for any parents listening, like have your kids get plugged in at church even from a young age.
100%.
And even if they stray away at some point, you know, they'll have seeds planted from that time that they were at church and they'll
That's very true.
hopefully know where to go back to. So, okay, now you're 27. How old were you when that kind of all happened?
I was 2 weeks into 21. I just turned 21.
Wow. Okay.
Because I was thinking like the one time I could like use my real ID to get alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm like, this part of my life's over now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just turned 21.
Okay. And so 6 years or so, what would you say is different about your life now compared to before?
Everything. Like literally nothing is the same. I always say, I forget what verse it is. I know it's in Ephesians though, but the verse where we are new creations.
Yeah.
I am a walking testimony. Like I am just a completely different person. I'm a new human, a new creation. I would say the one thing that is the same is my personality. Like I've kind of always just been a blunt, like confident girl.
Yeah.
But just my trajectory of life is different. Like nothing is the same. I'm not in the career that I was chasing after in college, that I was majoring in college. I know my purpose. I'm so sure as to why I'm here. I'm so sure there's I just know why I'm here. And I think I just move with conviction now of this is why I'm here. I have to glorify the Lord's name while I'm here. Tell as many people about Jesus while I'm here. This is what he's created me to do. And that's what I'm going to do until I'm no longer on earth.
Yeah.
And so it's just a completely different path.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I love how confident you are. And just in our friendship, like you're one of my few friends that'll just like shoot me straight. I feel like tell me like, this is what you should be doing, Carlton.
I try to be, the Lord is working on me. I try to be nicer, and I try not to be rude, but I feel like sometimes when you do just speak so bluntly, people can take it as like,
yeah, they can take it the wrong way.
You're kind of rude. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like,
but I know how you are though. And so I know how to filter that.
I'm glad. My close people, y'all never get offended because y'all just know that it's just me, you know?
Right. But like someone random on the street, I could see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Speaking the truth in love, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's say you could go back and talk to, let's say even like 25-year-old you. Okay. So you've already been following Jesus a little bit. Like what advice would you go back and give her?
I would tell her to just keep going. It can get very hard.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, especially in Western Christianity culture, you know, a lot of us think that when you give your life to Jesus, that's it. You're never going to have another storm. Life's going to be so easy. You know, like that's just not the truth. You know, spiritual warfare is very real. And so I would just tell her to keep going and to keep holding on to Jesus because life happens and life hurts, but Jesus is steady. And so that's what I just keep telling her to do. Keep holding on.
Yeah. Love it. That's great. That's one thing I'd love to lead into next. Like I want to spend a good bit of time talking about dating and just your wisdom and advice on that. And how has dating changed for you since college and now following Jesus 6 years? Has there been a big difference?
Yeah, and sorta. So when I didn't know the Lord, I was boy crazy, like it was bad. And boys are a huge part of my story as well. But yeah, when I was in college, like this is actually my last episode. I don't know if you watched the last episode, but it was about drinking and mental health and stuff, Christian Girl Chat episode, whatever.
Yep.
And we talked about on that episode, like, because we are all saved now, but we all had that crazy college girl phase.
Yeah.
And we said on that episode that we drank for men. Like, we literally would go out and party to get men.
Really?
Yeah. And that was like the motive. And so I would say, like, when I had a few boyfriends before the Lord, but it was just so full of sin and just there was no point in me in those relationships. Like I literally think back on it and I'm like, what were we even doing? Like it's just no purpose. Like even going back to my life before finding the Lord, like there was just no purpose. And that is exactly how the dating world was. And like you go party with your boyfriend and maybe go out to eat. Like there was just no purpose, no point. And so I would say that was my dating life pre-Jesus. Now, since I've given my life to Jesus, there's still so many struggles in the dating realm, just in different fonts. Like it's not the same, but kind of the same, just in a different way. Yeah. But I would say it's been very, very, very hard dating as a Christian woman. I do not enjoy it by any means. I am so ready to be married and never have to date ever again in my life. Yeah. Or like just date my spouse. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I just think that, again, the church does a very bad job of addressing this like topic. And so I feel not just men, but women as well. I do think a lot of Christian men and women lead with their flesh and they don't lead with the spirit. And so that's why there's so many of us sitting here single because there's a new pretty girl that walks in the church and every guy goes after this new pretty girl when there's 100 holy girls over here, but you want to go after the prettiest girl. And so there's been a lot of like, hey, I'm just sitting here and, you know, a Christian woman specifically, every woman wants to be pursued. And so I just think when it comes to the conviction of pursuit, I just think that it's almost a joke. And that's why a lot of us are struggling.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So have you seen men do things well in your time of being a Christian, or
I have seen a few. So I've had a few girlfriends that I've walked through where we've walked through singleness together, dating together, engagement together. I was a bridesmaid in their wedding. So I've been through actually one of my really good girlfriends just got engaged last week, and I've walked through every season with her so far. And and her man, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with him. He is such a holy man. And like the way that he pursued her and started pursuing her was so God. Like he was so led by the Spirit. And my friend, like we have a little friend group of 4 of us, and we get dinner, we eat dinner together like once a month, twice a month.
Yeah.
And last September, 2023, she met this boy. And like the next day we had a girl dinner, and she was at the dinner like, y'all, I met this guy, but I thought he was so cute, just had a little crushy crush. And that moment we started praying for him.
Wow.
And so just seeing how prayerful she has been through the whole process and walking with her and praying with her. Now they're engaged, and it's just incredible. So I've been witnesses of a few stories. I wouldn't say a lot at all, but a few stories of people doing it right and people doing it with God, and how successful and amazing it's been to see.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what you want yourself one day, right?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's hopefully part of the fruits of this podcast, is just helping single men feel encouraged and inspired. Like, okay, there's other single men out here, and here's how we're trying to figure it out and become better together. And not just all the content I feel like that's out there for single men is all from a worldly perspective, and not anything that's filled with the Spirit. So hopefully this will continue to be an encouragement to single men. Yeah. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences too. So let's say you could like speak directly to single men who are listening now. How would you give them advice on dating well?
When it comes to single men, Christian men, y'all, love y'all. I would say, I think also we kind of live in a culture where we feel like being holy is being dramatic. And, because of that, we don't necessarily seek the Holy Spirit in a way and in a depth that he needs to be seeked. I would say that is a lie from the enemy. Like, he wants you to think that. And whether you think it's traumatic or not, like, you need to seek the Holy Spirit in every step of the dating process. Before you ask a girl on a date, when you ask a girl on a date, you just need to make sure that the Lord is giving you a green light to pursue someone. And I know a lot of people are saying, a lot of people believe that there's so many fish in the sea, and that like, there's a lot of dating advice that says go after the holiest person and and ask them on a date, and I could not disagree with that anymore, because there's so many I have so many guy friends, that. Yeah. And I'm not supposed to be with any of y'all, and y'all are not supposed to be, like, we just know that, you know? Yeah. And y'all are still great Christian men. But we know, because we pray and we seek the Lord in our dating, processes, that like, I don't feel drawn to this person in this manner. And I would say that for Christian men, like, invite God in on dating. Like, you need to invite God in on when you are pursuing or wanting to pursue a girl, to make sure it is God and not your flesh. That's my biggest thing when it comes to dating, is discerning the Holy Spirit versus your flesh. It's so hard. And I am not preaching to y'all, because I am so weak when it comes to my flesh. Like, there's been so many cute guys where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so attracted to him. But like, he doesn't know the Lord, but he's so cute. And I'm like, well, maybe like, if he does not know God, stay away. It doesn't matter how cute he is. And so again, girls as well, like, you also need to pray when you get asked out. God, is this something you want me to say yes to? If not, like, let me know. If yes, don't just relax. Like, don't be in such a rush, And I would just say that. Just seek the Holy Spirit on what to do when it comes to you being interested in a girl. Don't try to do it in your own strength.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. Love that. Yeah.
Sorry, that was so long-winded.
No, that was really good. That's how I feel like something that has been one of my big takeaways from doing the podcast at this point is like how important it is to be praying for your future wife or future husband. And then as the man, like, okay, just because I see a girl I'm interested in doesn't mean I should just go ask her out. Like, let me pray about it. Like, am I getting the confirmation from God to do that or not?
Yeah.
One of my mentors who came on episode 20, his name was Jay. He came on and said that as he was kind of maturing in his Christian walk, he was talking to God, like, should I, am I going to be single longer? Should I get married? Should I ask somebody out? And he thought God gave him a vision of who's now his future wife to like pursue her.
I've heard so many stories. I'm such a huge believer in when you know, you know. And the reason I'm such a huge believer in that, even though I'm not walking in it at all, is because I know when it's not it. You know what I'm saying? So in the same token, of course you're going to know when you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I also want to say too, when you're in the midst of the dating process, like you're going on dates, communication, clarity is key. I have been a victim of this. So many of my girlfriends have been victims of just being in the gray area. We don't know what's going on. A boy takes you here and there and compliments you and calls you and shows you the attention and shows the interest, but you don't know where you stand. That is not being kind.
Yeah.
I cannot stress that enough when it comes to the man leading in the dating process. One of my really good girlfriends married to this guy now. After every date, he would sit with her and tell her where his head is at. He would say, hey, like, I'm really enjoying getting to know you. Like, I would love to continue this on, up until the point to where, hey, like, I really see a future with you. Would you be my girlfriend? Up until the point to where he was on his knee. Like, there was just so much communication and clarity from him. And that always brought my girlfriend so much peace and comfort. And like, we're headed in the right direction. I'm so submitted to how he is leading this dating process. And it was just, so that was another refreshing thing to see, you know?
Yeah.
And so communication and clarity is kindness when it comes to you're going on dates with this girl now.
I love that.
And if you don't see a future, tell her, hey, like,
Right.
I've been praying this through. I don't know if this is it for us, you know? And it might hurt in the moment, but rejection, it only stings temporarily, y'all. And she will be glad when her man does come and her husband does come that you were frank and honest with her.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another
instead
thing.
of like prolonging something
Yes.
and then it's okay. There's more
Yeah.
potential drama or time invested and more time to heal.
A lot of times we prolong things because we love the attention and it's just not even what we're even supposed to be in right now, you know?
Right.
So
So specifically for you, Victoria, what would you say a guy could do in like a kind or loving way to ask you on a date? What would be your preferred way to kind of be asked out?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really a chill, as I know it might not seem chill, but I really am a chill girl when it doesn't come to like, you know, microphones and like speaking on behalf of the Lord.
Yeah.
But like, I'm very easy. Like, you can text me, call me.
Texting. Okay.
I don't want a DM. I would like for you to get my number via DMs if that's your avenue of finding me. And, you know, communicate with me on my phone.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing for me and so many other women, y'all, please take this note. Plan the date, okay? If you want to ask me out or any other girl, not just me, give her a date and a time and a place, you know? Maybe pick her up if she's into that. Not a lot of people love getting picked up on the first date just because you don't know, you know, it's a serial killer and they could know your address and, you know, it's a whole thing.
Right.
But most of the time, you know, just plan it out. Don't ask us where we want to go. Ask us when we're free. Are you free this day? Okay, can I come pick you up at 8 and let's go here? I have reservation. You know, just be so intentional with the planning.
Yeah.
And stop being like, well, what you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, that is one of the biggest turnoffs for me and many other women.
So when a guy's making the plans with you, do you want him to say like, okay, this time, this day, this location, or do you want it to be like, when are you free? Or they're both kind of the
I
similar?
think he has to ask, when are you free first?
Okay.
To plan the day and the time.
Right.
You know?
I feel like a lot of guys they like stick to this 3 things exactly specifically, and then that doesn't work for your schedule. And then it's like, no. And then a guy could be like, oh, she's not interested.
Right. No, 100% get when the girl is free. Like,
okay.
You're free next Saturday,
Yeah.
next Friday. Okay, cool. Let's meet here at this time, this place, or I can pick you up, whatever. But I think it needs to be over a girl's phone. Like, you can call me, you can text me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say FaceTime me. I think that's kind of dramatic. But if you like FaceTiming, but I just think it needs to be via the phone. It doesn't need to be DMs or Snapchat, y'all. If you are over the age, I don't know if you have Snapchat, but if you are over the age of 20, I deleted my Snapchat when I turned 21. But if you're over the age of like 20, I'd say 24 and up, like, y'all, please do not communicate with women via Snapchat. Like, we are adults. Please just get their numbers. Okay.
Yeah. Good
Anyways.
advice. Yeah. No, I love that. Okay, cool. So being 27 now, how have you learned to trust God's timing, as you're kind of navigating, mid 20s, being single?
Yeah. I just feel like this is going to sound a little down, but I don't mean it in a down way.
Yeah.
But I just feel like just the dating I've been through in my 20s has been so just like a joke. And like it's almost like I'm so hopeless in a way to where the only option I have is God. Like, I can't even like dwell on being single anymore. Like, it's just like, it's like I laugh at it now. Like,
Yeah.
And so anyways, I know that sounds bad, but that truly is just like where I'm at and where so many other people are at of like, is this real? Like, is this the dating pool that we have to work with? Like, it's sad. So anyways, I would just say that I think more than ever, like, just focusing on what God has you here for. And maybe as you were in purpose and in calling and doing what God has made you to do, your man, I'm speaking from so much faith because this has not happened for me.
Yeah.
But doing what God has called you to do, maybe he will just pop up. Like, you'll be in your lane and maybe God tells you to go let's stop here. I need you to do this for my glory.
Yeah.
And maybe the dude is here, but I think just keep going in the lane that God has paved for you. And I think a guy might come. I wish I could say he can.
He will
from
for
my
sure.
experience.
Yeah.
But he might come and just be in a parallel lane. And when it's time for y'all to intersect, I think God will make that happen because you can't do it in your own strength. Like, me and my girlfriends have tried it all. We've literally, I've never told anyone this, but this is hilarious. But me and my girlfriends, beautiful. Carlton knows my friends. Like, I literally have some of the prettiest girlfriends ever, y'all. And they're the most holy women. Like, just love them so much. And we are all single and we have gotten into like realms of trying to take things in our own hands and be like, you know what, if God doesn't want to budge, let's go find men ourselves. And so literally we did this thing one time called Find Men May, and we formed a little group and we would literally go to like out to eat, like to different places, like cool little places, and get dinners and stuff like this to literally find men. And when I tell you, from the few times we did it, there was absolutely no one. And so it was just funny because even when you try to take matters in your own hands, God's still going to be like, no, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to budge. And so that's just what I have to say. Like, you're going to have to rely on God. That is your only option. And I've seen him come through for so many people. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's never going to happen. It's just, it might take a little bit longer. But in the long run, there's so many obstacles that you avoided by waiting on God,
Right.
And so that's what I would have to say.
Let's say you found a guy at some dinner or something, even doing this event, right? Like, who knows if he was a Christian, who knows what his friends were like,
Exactly.
what his intentions were.
So much protection.
Right.
For sure.
So-
he's like, I'm gonna let my daughters mess up a little bit, but I'm gonna still protect them.
Yeah,
like, that's
yeah.
literally what he was doing.
Right. Love it. That's like, I mean, you talked about your friends and you have this great group of single friends and all of y'all are kind of together. What's the importance of community or kind of like navigating life in your 20s with other women?
I would say community is everything. I think community speaks so highly of the person you are. Who my mom always said this to me and my sister growing up, but birds of a feather flock together. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
My mom like drilled that in me and my sister growing up. And I think when a guy has approached me or shown interest, like I think his friend group says so much about him. And when he had great guys around him, I would be more excited to go out with him. But if his friend group is known as like, you're not good boys, you know, insert word there.
Right.
I'm just like literally, like it makes you hesitate.
Yeah.
And so I think that having good community as a Christian, I'm speaking from a Christian standpoint, I think having strong community is, I think it's almost everything. Even when I first gave my life to the Lord, he gifted me with the best girl community ever on my college campus. And we all were chasing after the Lord together. And I think that set up the foundation of my walk from day one of just never letting a season go by with not having that core group of girls who are walking the same walk.
Yeah.
They keep you on the straight and narrow. And even when there are boys, when I've dated, when my friends have dated, and there's so much temptation in dating, calling each other up, like Victoria, I messed up, you know, like confessing and repenting your sins. There's so much freedom in that. Having your girlfriends to hold you accountable and having your girlfriends to call you higher. I think that's just so important when it comes to dating, because you can fall so quick and easy. You're attracted to your person, you know?
Right.
And so I think that community is, oh my gosh, it's so important. I can't stress that enough.
Wow. So since you've come to Atlanta, how have you been able to find and cultivate strong friendships? Church, 100%. Like my closest people here who I hang out with the most are all from church. Yeah.
And I got this crazy opportunity to be an ambassador for this other ministry called Live Original a year and a half ago. And some of my closest girly friends, holiest girly friends, have came through that ministry as well. And so I think just being plugged into healthy environments is a great way to cultivate good community, you know? And I know that's a lot of thing. I get a lot of DMs from girls who struggle so much in like finding good friends and friendships and letting go of this friend who keeps dragging them into sin and this, that, and the third. Like find a holy place and dwell in it and serve in it. And I think your community is just a byproduct of that.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Okay. Last thing on dating. So what would you say specifically, if you could speak to single women who are, I don't know, having this mindset of like, there's no good guys out there. Like how have you navigated that yourself?
Girl, first I would say, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I would also say, going back to community, one thing that helps me fight that are my guy friends. Like I love y'all. Like y'all are truly like the best guys, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I think of no good guys out there, I can just look to my left or right and I'm like, my friends are amazing boys, you know? And sometimes God has to really reel me in, because sometimes I'm getting off topic, sorry. Sometimes I'm like trying so hard to play matchmaker and like help all my friends out who are single. And I'm like, okay, I need to stop and let God just be God, you know? But I'm like, okay, you look great. Y'all go together, ask her on a date, you know?
Right.
But I think as well, community helps me fight that lie of there's no good guys out there. I think as well, this is a very real thing for women, but especially when you pray a prayer of like, God, protect me from any man that is not my husband. A lot of times God will literally put a veil over you and it will feel like you are invisible to men. And you're not invisible. I just really feel like God is protecting you and saving you from so much unnecessary dating, all of these things, because he knows these men are not your husband. And so a lot of times we go through these seasons of feeling invisible when really it's God's protection. And so it could just feel like there's no one out there. There's no one looking at you. But a lot of times it is God just protecting his daughter, you know?
Right.
And so there are good guys out there, y'all. Just, again, don't even look at them. Like, look at God. And when you focus on God, it takes your vision off of the lack of good men, but they're out there. But focus on God. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I love it. Do you have a Bible verse for this kind of season, stage of life that you're in, or for your life in general that you'd want to share?
Yes. Yeah. I think a Bible verse that single Christians need to cling on to is Ephesians 2:10. And I know that that is such a cliche verse, especially for Christian women, because in a lot of women ministries, a lot of women are like, you are God's masterpiece. And that's like our banner verse for us. But we never look at the second half of that verse where it says that you were created in Christ Jesus and he has prepared works in advance for you to do. And so that whole verse is so prominent to your Christian or your single season, because when you are single, sometimes your confidence can fluctuate because it's like, dang, like no one's asking me out. No one sees me. Like, am I even pretty? Is there something wrong with me?
Right.
And I think if you hold on to, you are created by a king, you are a masterpiece, that combats all of those lies that can creep in of, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not whatever, this is why I'm single. And the second half of that verse, that God created works for you to do in advance for his kingdom and his glory. I just feel like that is the main thing we need to focus on, is cultivating that relationship with Jesus and going when he says go and where he says go. And when your eyes are on him and on the mission for your life, you don't have time to be sad about being single every day. You're focused on what's supposed to be focused on.
Yep.
And as you do your work, God will bring the man. And so I think Ephesians 2:10, I think that is just a verse every single Christian needs to hold on to.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I hope that encourages single men and women listening. Okay, last thing, Victoria, we'll wrap up with this.
Okay.
So super great, wisdom. I don't know. I know this is going to encourage a lot of single women, and that's why I wanted to have you on. I knew you'd have such great things to share. So let's say specifically single men who are listening, primarily our audience is single men. So what would you want to leave to encourage them? They're going back to their Friday night. Maybe there's a girl that they're interested in. Maybe they're thinking about texting her, DMing her, maybe not DMing her after this conversation. What would you want them to take away from this episode?
I always encourage my guy friends in this, so I'll encourage them in this.
Yeah.
Y'all think y'all are going to get rejected, and I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, like the girl is going to say yes to a date, And I think, rejection paralyzes y'all. Like it paralyzes men.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like rejection is a scary thing. I have just learned to just, literally just brush it off. Don't even give rejection a chance to marinate in your mind.
Yeah.
And so I would say, don't let rejection paralyze you, y'all. Rejection is redirection. Rejection is protection. And a lot of times rejection won't even happen, And so don't let that stop you from asking a girl out that you feel a conviction to go after. And let me say this too, y'all. Confidence is key. I know you've heard me talk about this so many times, but there is nothing more attractive to me and a lot of other women than a confident man. Like when a man approaches with confidence, not cockiness, but confidence, it is just it almost like you almost can't say no. It's like, okay, like it's so refreshing in a good way.
Yeah.
And so not only don't let rejection paralyze you, but be so confident in whatever the outcome is. God is sovereign. And so nothing is going to get you down. Just do it and go full force and be confident in it. And just go ask her out. Don't let rejection stop you. That is my biggest things. There's so many guys that have talked to me, in the past I have said a lot of times, I was afraid to approach you and I'm like, you do know if you would have asked, I would have said yes. You missed out on the opportunity, And so, yeah, y'all, I would just say, do not let rejection stop you. That is my biggest piece of encouragement. And again, pray before you go after these girls and all the things. But if you feel like you have the green light and you're scared and you're crippling and don't let. God did not give us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yep.
And so let that be your just fuel to go and not be afraid of rejection. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I think that's so great. The part about if you have the conviction to do it,
Yeah.
don't let fear doesn't come from God. It's like the fear of the enemy. Oh, don't ask her out. You know what? She's going to say no. You're going to look weird.
Yeah, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes initially it could be a no, like if you ask a girl out, but you never know what God will do within her heart. Later on, like she could come back around and be like, hey, like, you know, like even apologize for turning you down and be like, I just, you know, we'll probably even ask you out. Like, can we try this again? Like, I'm so sorry for rejecting you the first time, like the second and the third. Like, you just never know what'll happen if you just go.
Yeah.
This is why this is why you don't lean on your own understanding. If God says go, you just go and let God handle the rest. But you just never know what could happen in the long run, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Amazing. Victoria, so grateful for you. Thank you so much for your friendship and for coming on today. I know this is going to encourage single women and single men that are listening. So thanks everybody for tuning in this week.
Wait, can I say something else?
Yeah.
Also, I just want to say I'm so proud of you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And the impact that you're making, all the God stories from this podcast. And even from, I was thinking when you were saying earlier, if it wasn't for you coming on my podcast, I still remember the day you texted me. It was like, what equipment do you use and all this stuff. And so just to see where you are now and the impact you're making and just going when God says go and not hesitating and seeing the fruit from it has just been amazing to witness. So I also want to say I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. You're one of the first people I told about the idea too. And you're like, this is so needed.
Absolutely. Please do it.
Oh, man. Amazing. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in this week. If you haven't already, would love for you to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also check out Victoria's podcast, The Way Podcast, on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. And leave a comment as well if something encouraged you from this episode. Would love to know where you're watching from. And I'll catch you next week for a new episode. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Single Man Podcast. If someone you know would benefit from this week's episode, I'd love for you to text them the link and invite them to listen. You never know how a simple invitation could change someone's life. We'll be back next Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with a new episode. Until then, check out the video version of the podcast on YouTube, and you can engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.